Well, I thought I'd just show a video of a guitar that I modified. Put one fret on it. It's kind of an interesting project that I was working on. Took all the frets off and just put one back on. And it didn't do too much, not too versatile at all. Actually, what the end goal of this project is to create a microtonal guitar, which was my end product here. Putting the one fret on there actually just helped me calculate the proper way to set up the different frets on the fretboard here. So I put one in there just to make sure it was the scale was right, and then added what was to be a lot of frets. Usually we have 12 frets per octave on a guitar, and which is the same as a piano. So you have maybe a C note to a C note on a piano. You got the black and white keys there. 12 altogether of black and white. So that's the usual scale. But with this, called microtonal scales, you have, in this case, 31 notes per octave. So not 12, but 31, which gives a lot more flexibility when you are doing scales or chords. With a microtonal scale, you have a lot more options. So normally on a piano, you would hear, again, all the black and white notes would sound something like this. But on this guitar, you have many more notes. So that's basically the difference. You may wonder why exactly is it 12 or why is it 31? And essentially, those numbers are dictated by how the harmonic structure works with chords, the overtones. So when they play a single note, there's actually other harmonics going on there, which makes certain notes sound good together. And you have to divide the scale out in order to allow for an instrument to hit those pleasant sounding chords. So 12 actually hits a lot of them, but then 31 does too. And in this case, we have a chord that's not possible, say on a piano, a harmonic 7th chord. It's kind of a hidden chord or blues chord. So there's different things that can be done with microtonal scales and different chord combinations. Here's one example of switching between minor and major chords, but they're shifting chromatically, you might say, or just shifting very small intervals. So it actually sounds somewhat normal, but when you listen to the individual notes, you kind of hear something a little bit different than you would normally hear on a normal instrument. So whether you can hear that or not, it's a little bit unusual, but it's kind of fun to play around with. There's a lot of flexibility. kind of think of maybe a color wheel or something like that, where say you have a certain number of colors to work with, maybe the primary colors, but then if you split that spectrum up into a much wider variety, then you've got all the colors that maybe you mix together, get different tones. So just a bigger palette to choose from. Same thing here with more notes. You can switch between chords in different ways and get very elastic sounding scales. So it's fun to play around with, and it was a bit of a challenge to build the instrument. There is a lot of frets to level and make sure they're perfectly flat so the strings work well. But it's, I thought it was worth it, fun project. I'll be using it in my compositions. So I'll post some links below. I'll have some music examples as well. And if you want to support my compositions and the research and the instruments that I'm making, feel free. Much appreciated if you take a look at that, subscribe and like and so forth. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.